Hey everyone, Enosh Shachar here with a long overdue team report. So, as most of you may know, I went and got second at the San Jose Regional mid-December, the first major VGC 2017 Pokemon Regional. And it was the introduction of a team that I like to imagine helped change the format, or at least give it a starting point. And was the introduction of Tapu Fini and used Intimidate Krookodile. It was the basis of what became the AFK core, as you go saw Krookodile replaced with Garchomp and MAROWAK replaced with ARCANINE. I really liked it, and it ended up being the default that I've had for about a month, and this has been long overdue. I hope you guys enjoy this team. So, without any further ado, this was the team that I used. It was Araquanid, Tapu Fini, Porygon 2, MAROWAK, Krookodile, Kartana. I'm going to run you through how I built this team and kind of like how it played out, what were my thoughts, and what are some changes I would have made later. And the team building. Starting off, team building is really weird. I love to do it personally, but it's really weird and I kind of see a lot of people not do it how I like to. So I'm going to run you through my style of team building. First off, it's about figuring out how do you start. My general approach is come up with a bunch of ideas, put them together on a team, and then see what sticks. What do you enjoy? What do you want to continue working with? So figure out the ideas you want to mess with. For me, this was the original testing. Garchomp, Incineroar, Togedemaru, Celesteela, Tapu Fini, and a lot of other Pokemon tried out in the last slot. And with that, what did I take out from that team? This is the first revelation. Tapu Fini is good. Tapu Fini is a god. It was one of the best Pokemon, if not the best Pokemon in the format of that Pokemon, and was criminally underlooked. So I knew going to San Jose I wanted to build around Tapu Fini no matter what. The second thing was trying to take into account what just happened at London. It happened a week before San Jose. I was preparing for San Jose and saw Arcanine, Gastrodon, Celesteela, a very defensive core, end up popping up in usage, and it made me worry when I tried to go use Tapu Fini because as much as I love the Mystic Train making it toxic immune, everyone had Tapu Koko or Tapu Lily, and turns out you're not so toxic immune anymore. So that had to take into some consideration. We had offense on one end, we had defense on the other end, double duck offense and bulk defense this, and I really needed to figure out what balance could I take into account. So another thing at that point was I had a lot of conversations with people trying to come up with other ideas, new ideas. What else did I want to try out on this team? And the idea that I ended up taking into account was Araquanid. Araquanid is a really cool Pokemon. It's a nifty Pokemon, as someone called it. So I knew that Gavin and Crow were using it a lot. It is a very powerful Pokemon, but I wasn't the biggest fan of just Waterium Z Liquidation and call it a day. I wasn't the biggest fan of Z moves that are just for power yet, so I wanted to do something else. So why did I think Araquanid was so good? First off, it has 3 abilities in one. Water Bubble makes you unable to be burned, it makes your water moves deal twice the damage, and 3, it makes it so you still have a fire resist. That's pretty great. It has fantastic base stats, about the equivalent defense of Tapu Koko, and about the equivalent special defense as Tapu Fini. That's kind of ridiculous, and its base attack with its doubled ability, you end up being as strong as Marowak. That's holding a thick club. It's ridiculous. And it has a lot of cool filler moves. Entrainment is funny. I didn't recognize Substitute was as good as it would be. Lunge was cool. And most importantly, I liked Stockpile. And with that, it gave me an alternative to the offensive Araquanid that was being used, as I could use Z Stockpile to heal back to max. And therefore, I had Araquanid doing everything that I wanted from a Gastrodon without being a Gastrodon. It could have the Z Stockpile to have ridiculous bulk, and it could actually deal damage, and I had 2 water types, so who cared about Storm Drain? I felt pretty good about it so far. Those were my 2 months core. And once you have 2 Pokemon, you have the beginning of a core. The question is, what comes next? And for me, I have 2 water types. It's a no-brainer. Marowak. They're electric types, and they're grass types. I need to handle both. Let's put in the fire Pokemon that makes it so my water Pokemon don't take damage. Marowak. So with Marowak, I had a different idea going on at the same time. I thought about stall breakers. So looking at Smogon's definition of one, a stall breaker is a Pokemon that immediately threatens stall, not for breaking down walls, but rather for preventing the Pokemon commonly found on those teams from executing their standard strategies, thus hindering or entirely shutting down the team's defensive core. Thank you Smogon VGC, and Smogon OU, and Smogon in general, because that's a really good way to look at things. There was a stall core formed at London, and I needed to have a better response to that. And that response was looking at what are Marowak's filler moves. So, how could I make Marowak a stall breaker? First thought was substitute. If I go and stay in and they can't, I just outdamage them. I tried it out, didn't work as well as I thought it would. Second was Swords Dance. If I get +2 attack, I just KO them. Why do I can just set up on them because they don't deal enough damage. It was interesting, but it had a lot of issues with getting the setup and actually maintaining that pressure. And then came the third idea, Perish Song. And honestly, it became my favorite Marowak set. Perish Song made that Marowak could come in, handle those bulky Pokemon, and just make them disappear or put them on a timer that gives me free attacks. And I really liked that. It was also an EV check, which always nice to have. So, I had Finny, Araquanid, Marowak. It felt like a no-brainer. I wanted to have Trick Room. And why not put the best Trick Room Pokemon, and also one of the best Pokemon in the current format, Porygon 2. So Porygon is ridiculous. It is one of the best Pokemon. It is wonderful. It can stay in, take infinite damage. It lasts forever. Like, it's lasted since the dawn of the pyramids. It's wonderful Pokemon. And I had to use it. No reason not to. And with that, you needed a first draft. And my first draft was Tapu Fini, Araquanid, Marowak, Porygon 2, and I just slapped on Garchomp and Koko. Those were 2 strong Pokemon, other people were having success with them. Might as well have tried it myself. So, what that also means is those 2 are the most replaceable ones. They didn't have a reason to be on the team yet, so I just tried out different things. And I tested and I struggled. I tried out Incineroar, Ninetales, Lilligant, Garchomp, Celesteela, even tried Eevee a bit, Arcanine, weird Tapu Koko sets, lots of them, Krookodile, and Torkoal. And as much as I loved Garchomp Arcanine, I felt there's too much overlap. I needed 2 Pokemon. I didn't like to have Arcanine and Marowak together, too much overlap in the typing. So I needed to find something else. And that comes to the idea of role compression, where Krookodile is Arcanine and Garchomp, or at least I thought it could be for how I wanted to build the team. So that gave me 5 Pokemon so far, and the day before the tournament, I had to settle. And that's when Kartana came into play. So let's begin taking a closer look. The Tapu Fini was Muddy Water, Moonblast, Calm Mind, and Substitute. The Substitute was used to go handle the Toxic, and that meant when they try to change terrains with their Gastrodon, I can still out-pressure them. The AV spread made it so that +1 I could go and get 3-hit KO'd by Tapu Koko Thunderbolt. It didn't come up as often as I would like it to, but it was nice to have. The speed let me outspeed most Tapu Bulu, and the special attack made it so that I could 2-hit KO most AV Garchomp, and 1 KO Garchomp after I get +1. So that's how I went about making the spread. You can read more about it over here, look at the PowerPoint, it'll be uploaded later. And how did it do? I brought Tapu Fini a bit less than I thought it would, but I brought it a lot. It was a phenomenal Pokemon, it did what it needed to, it was able to set up against those mid-speed tier teams and really, really punish them. It was very effective when I brought it, and I kind of had to build around Tapu Fini for the next month. I couldn't not put on my team. It was so good. Though Araquanid. That was Lunge, Liquidation, Protect, Stockpile. The defensive bulk did something similar to the Tapu Fini. The attack made it so that I can KO MAROWAK most of the time, not all the time. Did at least 50% to GARCHOMP, and the defense, I believe, made so that Rock-Side Rock EMZ was not a 1 KO if I got +1 defense. Had something to do with Intimidate. Wasn't the best calc. I could have made the spread better, but it was very fun to play with. It was good to know that going so slow, being slower than MAROWAK, allowed me to create so much pressure. So you can read all of what it did here. It also survived Tapu Bulu Woodhammer after Stockpile, Launch, Misty Train being up, or an Intimidate, and that was very nice to have that bulk. I wanted to have that lasting power, and Arachnid very much did that. So, honestly, I can't remember how much I ended up using it. I thought it was going to be used independently from Tapu Fini, but it turned out that I used it very much at the same time as Tapu Fini. I used Tapu Fini and Arachnid together, where teams were not able to handle water types. That's when I brought both of them and just pushed through. It was very effective when I brought it. I had one of the best records, and it was, to me, the introduction of Porygon to Arachnid, as could have been seen with Gavin's team similarly. One of the best Pokemon to be used with Trick Room, and honestly, Stockpile wasn't the best choice, but it was strong enough for the tournament. The MAROWAK, able to handle Tapu Lele better, able to handle Tapu Koko better, able to deal a lot of damage and KO opposing Marowaks. The Parasong I talked about earlier, and you can look back to hear more about that. So, the spread, I wanted to KO opposing Marowaks. I wanted to outspeed most Marowaks, so I speed crept with 28 EVs. I also was slower than most Muck if they stayed in neutral nature. I survived the Psychic and Dazzling Gleam from Tapu Lele and Life Orb Koko respectively in Electric Train or Misty Train, and it was slightly stronger than the Arachnid and Kartana, and that was very helpful to go and estimate the damage output after I hit something with one of the other Pokemon. Marowak got used a lot. It was one of the best Pokemon. It was in a Celesteela Gastrodon type of metagame, and that made Marowak one of the strongest Pokemon by a long shot. It made it very effective, and I did not expect to bring it as much as I did, because I didn't know it would be as strong in the current meta, but it really was, and I do not regret bringing it at all. It is still a strong Pokemon. I kind of wish that it challenged Arcanine more in usage, but Intimidate is so strong and it's hard to ignore. So the Porygon 2 was Ice Beam, Toxic, Trick Room, Recover. I considered Bolt Beam, but Toxic was used because I imagined, okay, Misty Train won't last forever, people have their own Tapus, Toxic is a win con. So I tried to play off of that, and it was pretty fun. One thing to keep in mind, though, is this is not one to KO Garchomp 100% of the time. I want to turn Timid Life Orb Tapu Lele into 3-hit KO. I think this was in Misty Train. I wanted to make sure that Tapu Bulu deals less than 50% after Intimidate, and make Kartana 3-hit KO as often as I could. It was just trying to maximize bulk in a way that I thought was good, and I think I achieved it as well as I could. Porygon 2 was one of the best Pokemon. I brought it almost all the time. There was too much Tapu Koko, too much Garchomp, and Porygon 2 handled them better than almost anything else. It's still one of the best Pokemon in the format, one of the best Trick Room Pokemon by far. There are ways that people are now beating it, so it's not as powerful, but it's still phenomenal Pokemon, and I very much recommend continuing to use it. The Krookodile was Earthquake, Crunch, Snarl, Protect. The Snarl actually was not that useful, but let's take a second. The spread was to let it outspeed Tapu Lele and all Circuitry, and to 1 KO Tapu Lele. I also wanted to get the survival against Kartana Leaf Blade after I switched and Intimidate, and that was all it did. It was pretty standard for what it did. Snarl was pretty much useless though, and that's something to keep in mind. I brought Krookodile a lot because it was my only Intimidate Pokemon, and Tectonic Rage was ridiculously powerful. I felt as though most people were using AV Garchomp and not Tech Rage for some reason, and where's the Grand Resist? If I beat Celesteela, which I felt as though my team was very capable of doing, Krookodile was able to take KOs, and that very much impressed me. Still one of my favorite Intimidate Pokemon, if not my favorite Intimidate Pokemon. I kind of wish that others picked up on it as much as I did, but it was a very strong Pokemon and I very much enjoyed it. The Kartana. So, shout out to Ben Kiriakou for using a Solvex Kartana in London. That was inspiration. I wouldn't put Kartana on my team on the layover onto San Jose from LAX. I just had an idea that, man, why am I using Celesteela? Kartana is much more offensive pressure and I need something fast. I put Leaf Blade, Smart Strike, Sacred Sword, Night Slash. I did some calcs for the bulk, generally speaking, and very much enjoyed what I got. And you can see more of the calcs here. I survived Tech Rage. I made sure I 2-hit KO Garchomp. I made sure I 1-hit KO most Tapu Lele. And I survived Golduck Hydro Vortex as often as I felt comfortable doing. And that was all really good because it also made it act as a rain counter. And being the last Pokemon, I didn't expect to bring it all the time. I brought it all the time. It was one of the best Pokemon, and Kartana is still one of the best Pokemon. I very much recommend it, except that I hate using or playing against it. It's a double-edged sword. And I can't really know if I recommend for or against it, but if you need something fast, Kartana tends to be a good Pokemon. So, once again, if you want to look at the team, here it is. I hope you enjoy. So my overall thoughts was, I wanted to create a bulky team that beats standard offense. I wanted to be able to break and beat stall. And I wanted to balance offensiveness and bulk on a team in an interesting fashion. So with that, I wanted to use Tapu Fini effectively, and I also wanted to show an alternative Araquanid set that was outside of the Witcherium Z set. Because I thought that bulky Araquanid was something that had potential. It had these great stats, and being able to heal up to max kind of fixed a problem that a lot of Pokemon had. So I was excited for both. So what threatened the team? Kartana created a lot of pressure and had a high critical hit rate with Leaf Blade. I actually got critical hitted with the Bloom Doom in one of my games, and that was very scary. Hariyama was able to reliably 1-hit KO 4 of my Pokemon, so that's a problem. And Muk, if I bring Porygon 2 and Marowak, Muk is a massive threat. It's very hard to beat without Tectonic Rage. Still stands to be true today, hard to beat without Tectonic Rage. And Araquanid, it created a lot of offensive pressure against both the Marowak and the Krookodile. And that was very scary because turns out the offensive set is still very much able to put holes through bulky teams. And last but not least, offensive teams that I did not prepare for. I didn't really expect offense to be too much of a thing, so I put it on the back burner, and it became more of a threat as I was building towards Dallas. So how to perform, as you may have known, I went 8-0 in Swiss. I won 23 games and lost 6. I went and brought Porygon 2, Krookodile, Kartana, Marowak, Fini a lot more. I brought Araquanid a lot less than I did. And the team matchups, honestly, this tournament just felt as though I was cruising off the team. No one was prepared for almost any of these things, and that's what put me in an advantage and what let me have this great performance. And that's why I value team building as much as I do, because having a good team makes a tournament so much easier. It really eases the amount of play that you have to do, and that allows for a much better performance. So, some things that were room for improvement. 1, replace Snarl and Krookodile. Roar and Taunt were both good alternatives. Replace Toxic on Porygon 2. Frustration, Return, Tri-Attack, or Thunderbolt would have been much more useful. I ended up having an internal conflict between Toxic and anything else. Offensive Araquanid may have been a bit better. I think I went a bit too much in bulk. Sub-Protect Leftovers or Sub-Figgy Wiki Berry, whatever berry you want. That's also very good. And just try out other Marowak sets. I kind of ended up settling on the Parasong, and I thought it was very good. But there are other options. But most importantly, I messed up in keeping track of terrains quite a bit in this tournament. I didn't notice when a Hariyama got burned, or more importantly, did not get burned, and then I completely forgot about priority and psychic terrain a number of times. So those are things that I learned more from that tournament and from using the team, and I very much enjoyed it. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this long overdue team report. I had a lot of fun making it. This team, I really defined how I build teams for most of the format, at least for the past month. And yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope I get to show you guys more later. Bye.